So CAO report and action list? Councillor Gilroy.
Brian can do it.
Brian can do it. Well, that's a pick a name.
Okay,
Brian.
I move that council receive the CAO's Brian Martinson written report and action list for information.
Does anybody have any questions? Brian, do you have a?
No, my report is there. If anybody has any questions.
Anybody good? Mayor Cox.
Can you give us a bit of background on the Parkland Fuel Corporation development in Peavine Estates?
Yeah, Mr. Haidar Singh, we met with him on Monday morning, and he's the gentleman that's basically looking at building the fast gas station on the end of the Tim Hortons lot. So he had some concerns about signage and visibility and traffic flows. So Marion, who's acting as my development clerk, provided him with traffic flows as submitted by May Stewart, I believe it is, out of the Peace River office at Transportation. So we've given him them numbers, and he's very thankful. And looks like it may be a go also next year. So. What I had suggested to him is that he was worried about having signage right at the corner of that approach, and I said, why don't you look at moving it back farther in the lot so it's visible, like farther down the road. So he was going to take whatever suggestions into consideration at the time that they're going to be building. So.
Awesome.
One more question. On the strategic planning, Gordon McIntosh out of Lesser Slave River, does he do strategic planning?
We found out that he's out of BC, so he lives in BC. So what I had inquired from Councillor Panasic here is that we will get a hold of him and find out what he will charge us to come up to do a 2-day strategic planning session with us. So, and I'll bring it back to a future council meeting, the costs.
Councillor Danaka.
Can you expand on what was discussed at the RCMP meeting with the new staff sergeant?
What they're doing is they're basically getting a feel on how the staff sergeant, not here, we're interacting with councillors and myself, and whether they're providing reports to council, and if he's basically on a monthly contact with us. So.
Are you going to do what Friesen, like he would come and give us the actual printed report?
This gentleman wasn't. He was doing an audit on actual on a detachment. Yeah, yeah. He asked the councillors if they had any questions or concerns regarding the policing, and we basically filled him in on what we felt.
Councillor Courtney.
His whole job, his whole role was to come up and do an audit on them.
Right.
On them indirectly. So with that, he was asking us questions on what we thought and what we felt on their services that they're supplying with us, but it still was directly an in-house audit. And even the paperwork, we asked for if we were going to get a report, and he said, well, not really, because it's their own audit on themselves, right? So that's where that went.
But what did come out of that was that we are meeting, and then Brian is actually meeting with the staff sergeant or
Yep.
whoever it is at this point, being updated regularly, and that there was discussion about it coming to council. So we would get that information. Did Councillor Danaka?
Is there a possibility that we can, I know for me, with all the turnovers and the changes that have been happening, oh, I thought I had it on, thank you. With all the changes that have been happening with the RCMP, is there a possibility that we can set up some type of a meet and greet to acquaint ourselves with the new officers, and so we know who they are and they know who we are? Cause I honestly don't know who all of the officers are now.
Councillor Gilroy.
I was going to say, Councillor Danaka, wonderful suggestion. I like that. A lot of what we're discussing right now is also, Councillor Rose had a really good report on her part of the meeting and in mine as well. I was really surprised, and I guess, I don't know if it's news for everybody else, I was surprised that we are considered to be a transitional place, that the officers are here for up to 5 years, cutting their teeth after having graduated, and that it's the senior officers are able to stay here as long as they have more of a choice to stay here or not, and invest in the community. But I appreciated the fact that during there he took notes on our dog handler. That was brought up, and we also talked a little bit about two important parts of our community, the First Nation and Métis policing, and how that RCMP would be working with that too. So he did take, it was a very valuable time, at least as far as I'm concerned, that we were able to put some things, and he wrote them down, and he was going to put them in his report to see if he could work with the concerns we had. So I think it was a very valuable time.
Mr. Martinson.
What I will do is, when the staff sergeant gets posted here, I'll request him to bring a senior officer to introduce him to council, is to hold a special meeting or whatever. And what he can do is bring a corporal or whatever to each meeting and introduce him to council when he gives his report. So instead of, bringing 4 or 5 of them, because I know they have sergeants and a couple sergeants and I don't know, 3 or 4 corporals in each detachment.
Mayor Cox.
Are we getting a staff sergeant now? Did he, the guy from
Not
Cormac
yet.
Murray? Never, oh, his house didn't burn.
His house didn't burn and
And the dog handler, what was the response on that?
he didn't really say.
Okay.
He didn't know as much about the dog handler.
Okay,
So we raise the concern again
okay.
and draw attention.
There are questions for Mr. Martinson? All those in favor? Carried. Do you want to go back to the action list? Do you have a question about the action list? I thought that was all part of it.
It was.
Okay, we voted.
Moving on.
Okay, check listing for council. Do I have a motion? Councillor Long.
The council received the check listing for council for June 1st to June 14th, 2016 for information.
Any questions, comments? All those in favor? Carried. FCSS report. Councillor Danaka.
Council received the May 2016 reports from FCSS for information.
Questions? Councillor Panassa.
I just wanted to ask, and I know I've been, when we talk with some of the other communities, the FCSS is very active with Heart River Housing and some of their, I'm wondering if we can get them more involved within High Prairie. Like, I know in some communities, they actually, they're a support for the people in the social housing. They actually will go and visit them and see if they need help, give them some support. I know that they go right to the lodge and offer some supports. They're just a little bit more active. But I also know that they're a little bit bigger, so I'm assuming they get a little bit more funding, and that might be some of the issues. But I don't know if it's something that's been discussed or if we should be looking at it or getting anything out there. So I'm just throwing that out there and see if anybody's got comments.
Councillor Danaka.
A couple things. With, I believe it's Councillor Gilroy and yourself on the FCSS committee.
Why isn't that bad?
Was there some discussion about a more detailed report?
And I did get it in, but it was too late for the agenda.
Okay,
But I will supply it for.
okay.
Did you get a copy?
Yes, there was a copy. We probably would have had it also for the council. However, the committee had to cancel yesterday due to not having a quorum. But at the same time, Councillor Brian here, he had made a very good point, because at the meeting I was at last Thursday, the FCSS from the other communities has some amazing ideas, and the FCSS rep from this area was a no-show.
And
Councillor Danaka.
just in response to what Councillor Panasic was saying, is there not somebody, do they not have somebody who does the support through Heart River Housing?
Yes, there is one person that's hired to, I'm gonna say, part-time to do it. It's not their full-time job. And they sort of cover the whole region, so it's not even close to enough to what should be done with them. It's very minimal time. It's just minimal. It's not enough, and maybe working together with FCSS, they could do better coverage, but I know the two aren't mixing, or I don't think they communicate much, so maybe there's, and I don't know FCSS at all, and maybe there's a way to work, or maybe there isn't, but there is a need there, and it would be nice if it could be met.
For sure, we'll bring it forward and to the next meeting, which is now September. We can actually contact Louise, and I'll supply the report ahead of time for our next council meeting, so we can be updated with what's going on with FCSS.
Does Louise look after like the Donley FCSS also? No. Oh, okay. Because that's the one, and I know the one that works out of the Valley View area also is very active too. So those were the two that I was thinking of, and I've heard stories about, the service and the level of support that they provide. It just doesn't seem to be the same here, that's all.
Any other comments? Okay. All those in favor? Carried. ARPA Annual Conference and Workshop. Did I jump over something? Do I have a motion?
The council received the invitation to attend the ARPA Annual Conference and Energize Workshop in Jasper, October 20th to October 22nd, 2016 for information.
Comments? So did anybody go last year? Did he go? I know he was
No.
approved, but I don't think he went.
No, the motion was that either Councillor Emter or myself were to go, and we were to decide between us which one would go. And Councillor Emter kind of dodged the bullet as to was he going to go, because he was the first choice. And by the time he said, no, I've decided not to go, it was too late to register or to get rooms or to do anything. So consequently, nobody went last time. This is probably a good convention. I do know that the county, their representatives both go. I'm of two minds on this. One is that this is the convention for the representatives on the rec board, therefore they should be going. But the other thing is, actually, I believe the recreation board should cover the costs of this in their budget.
Mm-hmm.
When it comes to these types of workshops, when you sit on a board, and you'd be the rec board, the library, because the library always has its spring conference and that kind of stuff. And as a board, you make the decisions for what you think is the best for whatever board, either the museum, the library, the rec board. And I always question, as a board member, is there benefit to going to this? Because we're just sitting on the board. We're not necessarily implementing what the rec board does. We have a vote to see, okay, maybe we're gonna do this, or maybe we're gonna do that. So I kind of struggle with sending town reps who are on a board, because it's the rec board that, like, they're the ones that implement what ideas they want to try and, you know, whatever, and they're obviously going to be going to this.
No, they don't even
Nope.
know.
No, I don't believe the executive director has ever gone to this. I would have suggested that the director should be going, because the director should be learning something. This is an educational type of a conference. You talk to different recreation personnel throughout the whole province. You bring back really good information that could help our programming in our town. For example, the family throw a family in the pool. That was a fundraiser that went last year, and it came out of this conference where a member from Olds, I believe, did a seminar on fundraising ideas for small communities, and they brought this, the Councillor Marks, I believe, brought this back and said, you know, we could implement this here. Here's where the follow-through, it drops into a hole. We implemented it. We had some good take-up of businesses in town that bought the membership and then did the draws. We had good advertising from the local newspaper, who itemized everybody that won. We implemented a thank you notes so that the people who won would actually get an acknowledgement from the person who won, saying thank you for supporting this. The program ended, and that's it. Like, why didn't it go on for another year? It was popular, but nobody in the Recreation Administration went ahead and said, yeah, okay, let's do it again. I mean, this was good. So, you know, you bring back the ideas, but there's no follow through, and that's a disappointment. But that's the Recreations Board. That is the board director's responsibility to ask why this did not go forward. But you're not going to get the ideas, and you're not going to get the input unless you actually start to go out to these conventions.
Councillor Gilroy.
After looking at the income statement, or at least the budget here for our rec board, even if we sent one of two, with a suggestion that they approach the rec board to see if they can get that second person, maybe being Laurie Matthews or someone else who would be in as part of their committee and at their expense. I think if we can cut down some of the deficit by getting new ideas, it'd be well worth it, because I'm looking at the pool alone, almost 500,000 difference between expenses and revenue. And if it's $2,000 to save a lot more than that, I'd be for it.
Councillor Danaka.
I'm actually surprised by your comment that the rec director doesn't attend. I just assumed that it was something that she did. And so I don't know if this is a question to Councillor Courtley, being that you are the rec representative. Is there a reason the rec director doesn't attend?
We have two representatives.
He's the chair.
Councillor.
Or just because I'm on the board?
Well, because you're on the board, and
That
you're
was-
on the board.
Linda.
Linda's on the board.
Linda's on the board.
And she's been on the board longer, so she probably knows the answer.
Is there a reason why?
Well, I'm just saying,
she doesn't attend?
I actually don't think that that she's ever been encouraged, or not encouraged, that she hasn't been told to attend,
Oh, okay.
and
Or offered to attend.
Do you know
offered to attend, whatever. This would be, to me, is
the letter that's attached to the backside?
The one thing, and I'll just
But
throw
the-
that out there, is we've had a couple interim rec directors, or sorry, we've had 2 or 3 rec directors that we've been involved in the hiring. So until recently, we still only have, I think Laurie Matthews is still just an interim rec director. I don't think we've given her the opportunity to go? Because I know we did talk to her at one meeting.
Councillor Rose, I had the floor.
Have my hand up too.
No. As the chair, please give me a chance to respond.
We give you lots of chance to
Okay,
respond.
I'm just letting you know. Again, this information goes to the Recreation Board. It also goes to the mayors and councils of all municipalities. So the Recreation Director is well aware of training opportunities. It's also, again, I feel that the board members should go. Whether they send one or two, that's a council decision. I don't think you can actually take it to the Recreation Board and say, will you pay for this? Because at this point, the county is paying for both members to go, and they're not going to say, oh, well, the Recreation Board will pay for the town's member, because that would go 50-50, and they would end up paying half again.
I was suggesting the first rec board to send Lori Matthews and have the rec board pay for Lori Matthews. As per the last section.
They would do
of
that.
Letter. So recommendation to the rec board from us to encourage them to send Lori Matthews at their expense.
I think it's been their past practice. It's just been this last few years where there's been either an absent rec director or the process of hiring a rec director, and now an interim rec director but I agree, the rec director should be the one that should be going to these conferences. And I agree that these committees or these boards could be the ones that are like the airport commission, because we didn't approve the airport the airport conference, and then we've got the rec board conference, and then we have an FCSS conference that comes up in November or something too, and library conference. So do we go to those boards and say we can attend, but it has to be at those costs? Those boards, a lot of them are shared costs though. Like if we were to ask Recreation to pay for the board members, it would just be the same as the town paying, right? Because we pay 50%, the county pays 50%, they send 2 members, we send 2 members. So it really doesn't matter if it comes out of our budget or if it comes out of their budget.
I really didn't know it was offered to start with. Just going on what Linda says, if there's a lot of good ideas brought back from it, I think it's great. But if you read at the bottom, it also is requesting for your staff, meaning your recreation, your like Lori or the park staff members or whoever you've got, right, to show up as well. So you go as a complete unit. So it's expensive though. It's really expensive, and that's one thing that we, I'm on the fence myself both ways for us to physically go. But if it's deemed vital, or not really vital, but if it deems that it has merit, then I can find time to go.
I support what I supported with the airport commission, which was we should send representation, and the town shouldn't be the one that always says no and not goes, because what ends up happening is the counties do send the councillors. We don't necessarily get that information. We don't get to connect as well with people in that industry, bring back that information. But can we do it? Can one person bring back that information? Does it have to be 2? We talked about that with the airport. We've talked about that even with FCM. We don't send all of our council like some council, or we send 2 councillors, and we still bring back the information. So that's certainly a consideration. Mayor Cox.
And to throw one more monkey wrench into this, it is October 20th to the 22nd. The organizational meeting is October 18th. Who we choose may not necessarily be on the rec board. So I'm tending to agree with Councillor Danaka's motion that, I think it was yours, that we receive for information.
Anybody have anything else? Councillor Portland.
Being on the rec board, I will take this back to our next rec board meeting and see if we can't decide on whether on maybe sending Lori with whoever decides to go. Unless she's not the right director by that time, we'll see. But that's, I can do that for the next meeting.
Councillor Panasic?
Yeah.
Well, then, let's just get that done.
Councillor Panasic?
I think it's, I do like the idea of going to some of these conferences and workshops. For part of it's the networking, you get some new ideas and you don't get stuck on the same wheel and thinking, and you know, it broadens your thinking sometimes. So whether it's the airport conference or whether it's recreation, I think if you're on those committee, getting that exposure is good. So I would be in support of sending one person anyways to it.
That's
Call the
it?
question.
All those in favor?
And it's
Of
for
receiving for
information.
information.
Yeah.
Opposed? Does anybody want to make another motion for one person to attend? If that's what you're talking about, or just to bring it back to recreation to discuss? Councillor Panasic?
Well, I'll make a motion that Mayor Cox or Councillor Courtley attend the ARP Annual Conference and Energizing Workshop in Jasper, October 20th to the 22nd, 2016. But, yeah, I'll make that motion. I don't know if any of them can attend or if they're interested in attending, but,
Or if there was some on the record.
or if there's, well, we don't know that,
Council
but
representative.
we have to have some, yeah.
In your motion, you can put that one member of council attend.
One member of council, but, oh, yeah. If they're-
Yeah.
Yeah,
And we can
one
book-
member of
we'll book
council.
the rooms and that.
Okay,
Under the town library. So.
yeah.
Okay, any
Good
comments?
try.
Okay, all those in favor? Okay, all opposed?
$1,200 on the post.
Grand opening of Jussart School. Can I have a motion?
September 16th.
I will make a motion.
Oh, good.
I will make a motion that Mayor Cox or council representative attend the grand opening of the High Prairie School Division Number 48 newly constructed Jussart School on September 16th, 2016.
Did you say Mayor Cox or council representative?
I did.
Okay.
I think somebody should be present. If you can.
Yep,
You're free.
at this point. Okay, perfect. So,
Okay, all those in favor? Carried. Okay, Lesser Slave Lake Watershed Council meeting. Anybody want to make a motion? I'll make a motion. Oh, you got your hand up? Sorry, go for it. You got your hand up? Sorry. Oh, yeah,
That's
you
okay.
go
I was
for
just
it.
like-
Go for it.
That council accept the Lesser Slave Lake Watershed Council's invitation and attend a meeting on July 11th, 12th, or 18th to create a working group specifically for municipalities.
Are they both the same motion?
One looks bigger because it's on 3 lines.
Oh, there it is, okay. Mr. Martinson?
Just to let you know that after we had the agenda built, it's the July 11th meeting, so
Right.
the date, so
That's what I was
just to let
wondering.
council know.
And also note that it's a morning meeting and.
9 to 12?
9 to 12, yeah.
Yeah, from 9 to 12.
Can anybody, if we make a decision on this, go? Because we spent a long time talking about it and find out nobody can go.
What day is July 11th?
Monday.
It's a Monday?
And I really think that somebody should go if we can.
Definitely.
Definitely should be
Yeah.
there.
And I should be able to attend, and I'll just change my dates around. So I would be able to attend it as a representative for that.
Who's the alternate?
I am.
Right.
And will you be able to attend?
I absolutely will not be able to attend.
Therefore, who can attend if you can't? So, and you need somebody to be able to call on.
I could, and I would like to if you don't. I have an
Okay.
interest
Okay.
as
The only
well,
thing
so-
that'll stop me is health.
Yes,
But you'd
but
let-
I wanna make
let-
sure you've got an alternate.
Right.
Okay.
Okay, all those in favor? Carried. Are we on reports? Oh, you like your new job, Arlen?
Love it.
Okay, Mayor Cox.
You have my written report, and if there are any questions, I will entertain. I move my report for information.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
I'm just curious where we're at with, you were at the High Prairie Forest Resource Advisory Committee. Are we on that committee as a council? I haven't heard of that before. I know I used to be on that committee when we had it back in a ways, but I'm just curious about that, and that leads into the question of where are we at with the Tulco FMA renewal? I can't remember what we were doing, so two questions.
I was appointed
Oh,
Yes.
okay.
through a motion,
Yep,
and the Tolko renewal, a letter has
just been sent.
just been sent this week, supporting it with the proviso that the hardwood be used in this area, High Prairie area, not anything else. And there was, I believe, it was anticipated it would be a joint letter, but the county sent theirs in by themselves, and we sent ours in by ourselves. But they do have the, a support letter with conditions from us.
Ms. Martinson?
The county had sent a letter in just of approval and received the FMA. And so
And unrelated, just I guess related to that letter, do we have are we hoping to get a meeting with the minister when we're there at AUMA?
For the AMA.
Yeah, that's what I thought we were at, but I couldn't remember. Okay.
Did you get both of your questions answered? You're good.
Yeah,
We can vote now?
I can vote.
All those in favor? Counselor Danaka.
You have my report in front of you. Any questions?
I have a question regarding parking as an ongoing issue for the library. Is that the parking in front of the library? What are they asking for?
Did Simone send you another email? Cause I had talked to her. Cause, at the meeting, it was discussed, and they had asked transportation to provide like a library park patrons only sign or no parking sign in front of the library, cause they get the big trucks that park there. And they talked to transportation, and they said it was a public works. Talk to the town. And that's where we were at.
Mr. Martinson.
Public Works has ordered a sign, and I let Simone know that, and when the sign's in, we will be installing it. And basically what it says is library patrons parking only on the sign, so.
And I'm kind of two minds on this, but I do know the big trucks park there because they go into the convenience store and get coffee, and then they're gone again. So how business friendly are we if we are saying, no, you can't park there? So you're gonna say, library parking only. What is the problem? I mean, so you get library people parking there, how come they get to park and the big trucks don't? And yet the big trucks leave right away. The library patrons could end up being staff for all we know, but they could park there for 3 hours. And so And I guess the other thing is too, the big trucks can pass the driveway, they can go park towards the Anglican church. They're down that way. They have to walk a bit further. But I'm kind of, you know,
Basically, the library has no parking. They're, the staff and the people that rent the upstairs, they have their allotted stalls in that little parking area to the east of that. So there's really no place for patrons to park to get to the library during the day because it's filled with the vehicles of the staff and whoever has the offices upstairs. That was sort of their reasoning because they would have to park either in Marigold's parking lot and walk across the highway, which is dangerous in itself, or have to park somewhere else and then walk to the library.
if you actually go and look at the Moose Tooth building, there is a library sign that says library parking only.
Behind
No,
on the north side, yeah.
on the back of the building, it's got 3 signs and it says Lesser Slave Lake Economic Alliance on those, but the actual inset in the building facing east, there is a blue sign there that says library parking only. I don't know where that came from, but one day it was just there. But going back to assigned parking, there is no assigned parking in that parking lot. No tenants are paying extra for parking at all. So it's scramble parking. Sometimes it's full when Show Me is there. Sometimes it's empty when nobody's there and they're on holidays. I guess I'd have to come back to, are the patrons complaining or is it the library staff that's complaining? Because they all drive and they're all scramble parking also, so.
I'm not, I can't answer that question.
No.
I'd have to ask them that question. I don't know who is complaining, if it was their patrons or if it was, sorry, if it was the staff who were saying we have no parking. I don't know.
Yeah. And I do have one more comment, and that is, it is a hazard when the big trucks park in front of the library because they are taking up that whole space and you have to drive right up to the front of them and then turn right into the driveway. So that's why I can kind of see moving them along. It is a safety issue there. I just don't want to see patrons 3 hours parking.
I have a question.
About on reserve and on settlement library service. How does that look? Is that actually, like, that's not an internet thing, service, right? It's actually on reserve.
Well, actually, what it is, that's my piece of paper. What it is they're trying to, because a lot of reserves don't have libraries. So this will allow them to, they basically they will become patrons of the library, and they'll get the same card as you get when you're a library member, and they have the same access to the electronic stuff or whatever, because a lot of libraries don't have, or a lot of settlements and don't have access to, where they don't have libraries on the reserves. Here's my piece of paper. I kept it specifically to answer that question too. Oh, I lost it somewhere. And from my understanding, it's quite a large sum of money. Like they were, I think Tracy said, like something like in the millions that PCLS will be getting to increase or to have availability for these people to partake of the library.
Maybe what information you have, you can send it along when you get a chance. Or am I looking at it?
What's that, sorry?
When you find your information, you can at
Yeah,
the
I must have
bottom.
taken it out, cause I specifically put it in here, cause I said, oh, I know they're gonna ask
Anyways,
about
it'd be
it.
interesting to see how it looks, yeah.
Any other questions for Councillor Tanaka? All those in favor?
I
Oh,
move
no,
my
sorry,
report
didn't
for
move it.
information.
Now all those in favor? Okay. Councillor Gilroy.
Okay, in the, I'm sorry, I didn't get mine in on time. However, I did put a little package in front of each councillor's spot. What you'll find is the red sheet is the list of the participants at the pinning and capping in Slave Lake, as I was asked if there were any people from High Prairie that were part of it. And since I don't recognize names that well, since I've been here long, I figured you guys would. So I photocopied my bulletin and gave you the list of who the nurses that graduated were. And some of them, as I said, were the ones that were working in J.B. Woods. As well, last meeting, I was asked to go to the collaborative community action plan meeting from the prevention of family violence and come back with a report. So I photocopied all the information they gave us, and the extra report information including my recommendations are in a one-page double-sided report in regard to that. And the only other thing is it said a little more on what was discussed at the RCMP and the special meeting and the summer tour, all the normal stuff here. So I move the adoption of my report.
Does anybody have any questions for Councillor Gilroy? All those in favor? Thank you very much. Councillor Long.
Verbal report, as you know, kind of municipal affairs with everybody else. But had a discussion at 3 o'clock this afternoon with June Walker from Imperial Oil regarding our municipal site across the way here. And in talking with her and started talking about numbers and how much they're willing to put towards it. She said that Imperial Oil would definitely be more than willing to contribute some monies towards the park. And I said, given the fact that the park's been an eyesore for 20 years and we look at it retroactively, I'm looking at about $50,000. I said, we have all of that to level out. We have gravel to put over top of it. We have topsoil to put over top of that before we even start looking at anything above ground gardens or anything else. She, in talking to her and having a good discussion with her, she said that she really liked the idea, that it was a long time overdue, and the money that I was asking was a little bit, was taken by surprise, but she said, I really like the idea, and I'm going to forward you on to public relations as well as with the individual who, Chad, I didn't get his last name, he's taking over for the fellow who's retiring, who's Lawrence, and she said that he'll be getting in touch with me as well as their public relations. She felt confident that they would be able to provide something, if not more than what they initially were thinking, which was around 5, 6, maybe 10,000. And then when I said 50, she wasn't taken aback, but she said that it was a good project and she wanted to see it go through. So that's where we're at with that one. And then the revitalization, or pardon me, the sesquicentennial. We are moving forward with that. It was a small meeting. We didn't have a lot of people there. There was 2. Were you there? No. We had 4 individuals, 5 individuals that were there. But again, the discussions were we're now getting to the point now where we can identify which people are going to be addressing what groups, what organizations, how we're going to fit it into the calendar year, and then what business partners we're looking at getting involved with us as well, nonprofit groups. It seems to be becoming better defined as to who's meeting with this person and who's meeting with that person, and we'll be having that information brought back to us to see where we're at and start tidying it up and getting it ready for next year. So pretty excited. It's coming. It's coming along quite nicely, I think. And that's my verbal report, and I apologize for not having one in writing.
Mayor Cox.
Okay, sesquicentennial.
Mhm.
Do you have a breakdown, a budget breakdown of how much your meetings will be taking out of the sesquicentennial?
Well, currently right now we've met twice a month, and now we're down to once a month because we had the 2 meetings sort of close together. It's basically going to be 1 meeting at the end of the month, and we're looking at roughly $100 per person. That's what we budgeted for. Some people have put in, some people haven't.
Can we get an actual budget?
Absolutely.
Can you work with the treasurer? I'm
I
certainly sure
certainly can do
she will
that.
help you flesh out a simple budget.
Yeah. So yeah.
And minutes of the meeting, have we circulated minutes of the meeting to councillors yet?
I can do that though.
What would she say?
I can do that.
Okay, so can we get copies of the minutes
Yes.
circulated?
The only reason it hadn't is because there really wasn't a lot
Yeah.
done yet. We were
Okay.
still, so
Legacy project. Have you chosen a legacy project?
we have several. We're looking at, of course, the community garden and gazebo over here. We have the Accord, and we have the museum slash time capsule, and then we have McIntyre Park.
Is there anything in the terms of reference that say, that allocates 80% of the budget to a legacy project, or did we put anything in that? No. So if you are spreading, again, I guess budget-wise, this should show up then as legacy project, and you will be apportioning somewhat money towards these?
Some, yeah.
Because what I don't want to see is that out of myself personally, the whole amount be 50% of it go to meetings and organizations and that. I want to see something like 80% go to a legacy project. And if you were to say $30,000 for Esso lot, I mean, that's what we're looking for, is a real legacy project.
Correct.
That we can really do this. And I guess the other thing is I'm looking at the sesquicentennial committee to be contacting organizations and asking them, how can we enhance your due, as in the rodeo? How can we enhance your parade? Can you give us an idea of what you would like us to do to enhance the parade? Can we get some costs as to what these people are saying in reply when we say we're willing to enhance your?
Correct, and some of the discussion, I received a letter from Verna Holt,
Yes.
and also had a discussion with Chris Clegg, and the concern that they had from High Prairie beautification, as you're aware, there was some discussion at the council table, and it was mentioned that, you know, we're going to make it bigger and better, and they took it the wrong way, and so they were thinking, what's wrong with High Prairie beautification and our downtown light up, and why does it need to be bigger? And who said you guys are helping us out anyways? And all of those things. And I explained to them it was a discussion, and certainly nothing would get done with any organization in town through the Sesquicentennial Committee without us talking with them first and saying, hey, could we help you? Is there something that we can do to help your organization? And if so, what kind of dollar figures? Those are the discussions that will be taking place. Promise they'll be
Okay.
taking place.
So we'll look forward to getting a kind of a budget
Yeah,
from
absolutely.
the Sesquicentennial, working with the treasurer.
So,
Those are all the questions I had.
Anybody else have questions?
any others?
Okay.
Brian's looking very stern.
No, he's
That
good.
sun gun, I'm gonna give him some
Don't
questions.
encourage it.
I move my verbal report for information.
All those in favor? Carried. Councillor Panassa.
Just have a quick verbal report. The only real meeting since the last one was a Heart River Board meeting. And really not anything to report from that. There's nothing really coming out of that, nothing out of the ordinary other than the usual budget approvals and this and that. They are spending, because of the non-smoking that came into effect at the June 1st, they're putting up gazebos because they wanted gazebos outside of all of the lodges now. So we came up with an extra $120,000 to put up these gazebos, and that was really the big thing that went around and around. But other than that, that's it. Everything's moving along. They got their projects going. Capital's moving. You've probably seen in High Prairie the new step that's gone in here and stuff. So there will be another gazebo going up just beside that, at that lodge and at the other lodges too.
My mother-in-law really likes the ramp.
Oh yeah.
Any questions for Councillor Panassa?
I move my report for information.
All those in favor? Councillor Courtney.
Verbal report, basically. Just the same meetings everybody else has gone to, really. On the 20th, the meeting with the Staff Sergeant Gandolfi from Bonnyville with the RCMP. And then pre-meeting on the 20th, and then of course our MGA review, which we were all there. Which I thought was, it was kind of that's the first time I've been to a review or a meeting like that, which I was very impressed on the amount of people they had there for a question and answer, and I didn't expect to see that many representatives. That's me personally there looking at that and watching them. So it was kind of a neat experience for myself. So, yeah. Other than the fact that we really didn't get much out of it until they actually get some concrete, directives, right? So, yeah. So that was the week. So I move my verbal report for information.
Anyone have any questions for Councillor Courtney? All those in favor?
Apparently there was 88 people registered for that.
88?
Wow.
88. Didn't seem like there was that many people there, but that's how many registered.
Wow, that's lots.
Yeah.
Only one close enough to get the right color shirt. So we gotta be better with our politicians, the bright yellow shirts next time.
17 employees of the government there.
Wow, eh?
That many? I thought you had 12.
17.
There was a lot of those shirts floating around the room.
That's where I was going next to that, because it was like, holy smokes.
88 people would have been because High Prairie was chosen to be a center point for Slave Lake, Valley View, MD of Smoky, Blair, McLennan Donnelly, and all of those.
They're going to peace the next day.
And so Peace would have picked up high level, Manning and that, Grimshaw, Fairview. And then they came Thursday she was in Grand Prairie, and she did exactly the same road show again for the Mayors and Reeves there in the morning. So again, that's three times those 17.
No answers.
To tell us, they're gonna tell us more later.
Oh,
Basically, yeah.
How many extra questions to ask?
Okay, so you guys have my report. Anybody have any questions? I apologize for the length. I did ask Mr. Martinson whether I should just send you out an email on the FCM report, just so you guys had that information. He decided that he would just attach it, so we had it here forever. Mayor Cox.
Regarding the comprehensive diabetes management in the High Prairie area, I did talk to our MLA, Danielle Larrivee, regarding this, and she basically was saying, well, you know, I can't do anything politically to move this along because I actually need the people's names, and I said, that's okay, we're doing better than that. We're giving the people stories, and we're not going to expect you to move it along politically. We're just gonna go right to the premier and say these people have died because you did it. So.
Well, and just further to that, at the Northern Health Summit in Peace River, the ripple effect is being heard from our paper, and some of what's being written is flowing into other areas, because there was a big sense of what was going on in our area with dialysis, and we were in these rooms, sort of just a open discussion, and everybody was at different tables, and just about every table in the room, there was somebody from our area and I didn't even know who all these people were, but when they had an opportunity to speak, it was from Kitaski-Now or from Whitefish, a representative from Peerless Lake, and everybody supporting the High Prairie Hospital and dialysis for High Prairie. So we were really well represented, and very good that we were at that conference. So I think we should make sure that when NADC's putting something on, because I think they're going to continue to do that in the future, that we should support what they're doing. They did a good job.
Nobody has any more questions?